Good deal, okay deal, bad deal, Apple refurbished. Let's talk about it.
And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you.
Alright, so this video is going to be simple. Welcome back to the channel. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at Apple refurbished right off the live internet right now and see if there's any good deals out there, average deals or okay deals, and then some of the bad deals, just to highlight what's out there on Apple refurbished right now, and some reasoning behind why I think these are good deals, bad deals, and okay deals. So the video is simple. I'm just gonna dive right into it. I'm gonna go through I think it's 8 or 9 different systems and show you some really good deals. Nothing's really good, maybe just one, and then some really bad deals. And then we'll kind of wrap up the video at the end. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I'll show you some, I won't share my screen, but I'm gonna show you some screenshots here. Let's go. All right, number one, bad deal. So this is the first bad deal. If we take a look over here, this is gonna be the Apple 13.3-inch MacBook Air M1. They're actually trying to sell it for $849 right now. And you would say, hey, this is actually the base model. It's going to basically 8 gigs of RAM, 256 on the disk. But you're going to say, what in the world? That doesn't seem like a terrible deal. $849 for the M1 MacBook Air. First of all, it's the M1, and we're kind of getting long in the tooth on that. So you got to think twice about that. But second of all, and it's been out there for quite a long time. If you look at Best Buy right now, it's been weeks now. They've been selling it for $799. So I think $799 is that price point you want to be at if you're going to pick up the M1. It's still probably the best laptop at $799 right there, even though it does have the older M1 chip. But if you're going to pick it up at Best Buy. Don't pick it up Apple refurbished, because you're getting a refurbished one versus a new one. Again, I don't know if they're actually refurbished, but the cost difference is not that much, I know. But at the end of the day, $799 is about as high as you want to go on this right now. Until you find that, don't buy one. All right, we got another really bad deal. What's Apple doing here? Let's take a look at my screen. It's a refurbished Mac Mini. Mac Mini refurbished, but look at this. It's a 6-core Intel i5. And it's got 8 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and they want, what is it, $929. $929 for that right now. If I look at my screen over here, you can get basically the same, you can get an M2 Mac Mini with 8 gigs of RAM and the same size 512 SSD for what, $799, brand new, for a way better chip, an M2 chip versus not even an M1 versus an Intel chip. Bad deal here. I don't know why Apple, I don't know if they're just trying to trick people in this one or not, but that's a really bad deal. Don't get that one. All right, number 3 is going to be an okay deal. Now, why is this the first okay deal? Let's look at my screen. This is the refurbished, basically, M2 MacBook Air. It's 13-inch, so it's the one that obviously they made a little bit thinner. It's the M2 version, which is great. It's got the base model, though, 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabyte on the SSD. It's only $1,079, so that's not a bad deal, right? That's actually a pretty good deal, but the reason I say it's kind of okay only, if you go to B&H, you can see here, you can actually get it cheaper there. Only the midnight though, the midnight color only. It's actually $1,049 because it's a fingerprint magnet, I think. But if you actually go and try to get silver, starlight, or space gray, I'm going to show you space gray right now. You're going to be at basically $1,199. So overall, you can see that the price goes up $150 just because you want, you don't have midnight in there, and so it's a lot more expensive. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to get silver or anything besides midnight, obviously it's a good deal. If you're going to get midnight, buy it from B&H. All right, we got another okay deal. Let's look at my screen over here. This is the 24-inch iMac, which is only the M1 chip, and I'll get into that in a second. But it's basically $1,099. Obviously, this usually is about $1,299, so it's around $200 off. And you can't really get too many good deals on this. Although I think, let me just see if I can find it over at Best Buy or something. There's a couple things you can buy. I think it's still $12.99 right now at Best Buy, so it's not even discounted there. So that's actually a pretty good price. The only thing that I got to say with this, though, and that's the base model. The only thing I want to say about this, though, is you just don't want to I can't recommend it, just because obviously around the corner they may be coming out with the 24-inch M3, and this is the M1. But for what is that? It come out to $1049 or whatever the price was. Let me go back to that. For whatever that price was, $1099. That's still probably the best all-in-one computer you can get for $1099. And even though it's a couple years old with the M1 chip, it's still probably the best and the best performing in that price range, and also because of that 4.5K screen. All right, so we're back on an okay deal. Look at my screen over here. This is the 13-inch MacBook Air. It's the M2 again, but this actually has 8 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD. Now they also have this version in 16 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabyte SSD for the same cost there. And as you can see, if you configure this on Apple's site, it's about $14.99. And the moral of this one, the reason I kind of give it a good deal is because whenever you try to get these kind of weird configurations, you almost never get a good price like at Best Buy or B&H. It's always just on the base model. So if you're looking for a good deal and you want upgraded RAM or storage there, then this is maybe a good one for you. I think it's an okay deal. All right. We hit the first good deal of the day, right? And I've talked about this before, but it's still up there. Take a look at my screen. It's the Apple Studio Display Standard Glass, $13.59, $240 off. Now people would say, why is that a good deal? That's super expensive, and it is, obviously, for something that doesn't have a good stand and all that stuff. But number one, it's the best monitor you can get for an Apple product in that cost range. Nobody else really competes in that range, and there's never a sale on this, ever. So you can go out and look for one, but you're never going to find one usually under $15.99 or whatever it comes out to. So $13.59, with that said, is a pretty good deal in the scheme of things. It's expensive, but it's a good deal, and you should pick that up. All right, so this next one is going to be an okay deal. So look at my screen. It's a 13-inch M2 MacBook Air. It's actually $14.39, but what makes it that cost, right? This one actually comes with 24 gigs of RAM. That's awesome in that kind of a system, and actually 256 gigabyte SSD. But it's $14.39, so what makes that an okay deal? Obviously, they're getting a little bit older, but still, they're still great systems. If you look at Apple's website, you're going to be spending $15.99 on that exact system there, especially with the the upgrades and stuff that they have on there. So. And you can't really get those, again, at these kind of third-party stores. They just don't have these kind of configurations. So I think, overall, that's a good price. All right, so we got another okay deal here. And what is it? Let's look at my screen over here. This is going to be the Mac Studio. It's the M1 Max chip with 10-core CPU, 24-core GPU. It's going to have 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, so not bad, and actually for $17.99. And why does that make it a good deal? Well, obviously it's $19.99, and sometimes they had sales on this stuff. In fact, there was a lot of sales earlier, but I'm looking online, and if I go basically out, anywhere, I mean B&H and Best Buy, it's still $19.99 right now, so there's not a lot of sales on that. So when the sales are not, plentiful and stuff, and that's the price you want to reach for, is going to be that $17.99. I guess if you can find it new, pick it up for that, obviously. Again, Apple's probably new, they call it refurbished, but that's I think it's an okay deal. I'll classify it as okay if you're looking for the Studio. It's a great system. And then let's wrap it up with the worst deal of all. So look at this over here. I can't believe Apple's doing this. We have the refurbished Mac Pro. It's basically an 8-core Intel Xeon W. It's an Radeon Pro 580X, which is a very inexpensive graphics card nowadays. Very old, by the way. Take a look at this. It's from 2019. It's got 48 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD, but we saw that the M2 Mac Mini kind of blows this thing away already, and that's $599, at least starting. You have to add some RAM and stuff, or some of the disk as well if you want it to kind of be comparable. But still, just don't buy this thing. Oh yeah, and then just as a bonus, take a look at this over here. Apple's actually trying to sell this thing here. It's $39,000, almost $40,000, all right? So it's basically the price of a nice car or a lower car or whatever you want to call it. 40 grand for this thing. I mean, granted, it's a little bit more, it's got better graphics. It's got dual graphic cards. It's got 1.5 terabytes of memory, which is crazy, right? But 40 grand for that thing. I would much rather have a car, wouldn't you? And at least a nice car, too, on top of it than have this computer, especially that it's so old, 2019. I just don't know who in the world would buy this. I mean, you guys tell me in the comments, who's buying these things, and are they selling even one of them a year? All right, let's wrap it up. That's the end of the video. I just wanted to kind of say good deal, okay deal, bad deal. Sometimes I do these videos just because kind of, I look for different topics and stuff and just to show people what's available right now. And these could change, obviously, as you watch the video, but anyways, have some fun with it. And you guys tell me in the comments if those are okay, if I classified them as right or not. And we'll talk to you soon in the next video in maybe a day or two. Talk to you soon. Peace.